Welcome back to Christ, Coffee, and Conspiracy. I am Leigh Ann. This is Sheri. We are here to have a little special episode with you this week. For those of you who may have finished your Christmas shopping, this might not apply to you. For those of you who are more like me and haven't done the first gift shop yet, this might apply to you. So what we want to talk to you today about is things that you might want to avoid buying so you can keep demonic influence out of your home and the homes of those that you love and want to share Christmas with. So we're going to go through this quite long list today and try and keep it as short as possible, but we want to talk about some of these items that are on this list. And this is from a TikToker that Sheri actually follows, so she can give you a little more information on those. But we're just going to get started. All right. So, before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with everyone you know so that we can continue to reach as many people as possible. And we thank you for tuning in. All right. So the first three things on this list are crystals, tarot cards, and dream catchers. And just to preface, I don't know if I said this, but the person who wrote this list is a former witch. And so these are things that she had in her home and things that she, as she fell into her Christianity and faith, started realizing she needed to expunge from her house. So crystals, tarot cards, and dream catchers. So I have I always thought the crystals were really pretty, blah, blah, blah. I did not realize they were attached to the occult. I don't know that I've ever really had any. But I always thought they were really pretty. I don't currently have any. I've seen dream catchers. They're very, very associated with native art or the native population and culture, where they want to catch the dreams that come out of you and keep the nightmares from you and keep the evil spirits from you. But it is actually witchcraft. And then, of course, the tarot cards. I've actually been to a tarot card reader before and had my cards read. I've been to a psychic. Tyler and I went to a psychic years ago, before we realized just how demonic these things can be. So that's just the first three on this list, and they are, they are presented as something that's completely innocent, that's supposed to protect you, but the reality is they are opening portals. They are opening portals. A tarot card is definitely an occult practice, and it is opening a portal for something unclean to come into your home. I'm not sure how the crystals work in terms of bringing in demonic influence, and Sheri, you might know. And then, of course, the dream catchers are just that. They're bringing in any kind of spirits they're opening portals for any kinds of spirits to come into your home. And, I believe that demonic influence is every day, all around the world. And I believe demonic possession is something that we allow when we don't have faith. So, and it's happening more and more. So what do you think?
Yeah. So, crystals, I don't know a lot about. I mean, I don't have crystals. I have some stones and stuff, and they're pretty. Mm-hmm. I think that they could also be good, because if you take a look in the Bible, and you might be able to find the verse more quickly than I can, but they mention certain rocks, certain types of stones, and I think those are good stones. Mm-hmm. So I think there are some good stones, but I think it might be how you approach it also. Like if you're worshiping it in some way, like I know people will put their crystals out in the moonlight and or whatever, to recharge them. And I don't totally understand all of that. And I'm going to preface all of this too with some of this you're going to have to do your own research on. We're not, by any means, we are not experts in this, but we just want to bring them to light. Dream catchers, yes, they are usually Native American art, and which my mother absolutely loved Native Americans and Native American art. So fortunately or unfortunately, I do have a lot of those, and I know I need to go through that. And that's hard when you attach that to a loved one that is no longer here. Tarot cards. I would also want to make you aware of that they will be called angel cards. And so angel card sounds good, right? You're tapping into angels. So all of it, not so much. And yes, I've had cards read too before I realized, and it was brought to me as angel cards. So I'm just saying, you know,
I actually had
and they will,
oracle cards. They were called oracle cards too, and I had those in my home
yeah,
and actually used them not knowing what I was doing. So there's a lot
yeah,
of different names for
yeah.
those.
There are, and you know, just beware because really the only one that can foretell what's going to happen in the future is who?
God.
God knows. God
And
knows.
who God chooses to
So,
prophesy to.
hmm
Okay.
yeah. So the next thing, few are evil eyes, and I think in Greek art they will use something that looks like an eye. I think that might be what they're talking about. I know that they're not good. Also, they're kind of they don't they're not ugly per se. So it's not like you would be like, so you know, I would be aware of that. Of course, then there's always the eye that we know of that is evil. That's on our money.
We'll put a
Um,
picture of that right here.
yeah, that's Illuminati. So yeah, that what I would call a really evil eye. Then there's mandalas, and mandalas is a type of art. Um, I don't know a lot about it. Unfortunately, I know that my teacher daughter who teaches art has done mandalas with her kids. So
See them
I
tattooed
would,
on a lot of people too. They usually have them on their hands.
okay,
Mhm.
yeah. So maybe you can explain what they look like because I'm
So
drawing a blank right now.
they're usually very intricate. They all and I'm doing this because I see them on people's hands more than I see them anywhere else. So they are usually a very intricate artwork, a lot of interlacing of lines, and they come to sometimes they'll come out in circles, almost like the lotus flower, which we'll talk
Mm,
about. And then sometimes they come out more pointed, but they're it looks like a big flower that's expanding, is what a mandala looks like.
okay,
So we'll put a picture
and
of
they're
it
pretty.
here and you can see what a mandala looks like. Because it's
There you
important,
go.
I think if you don't have a visual understanding of what to look for, you won't know. So we'll drop some pictures throughout the podcast so that you can actually see. And if you're listening to this, then go Google it.
Yeah. So the next thing is chakra healing anything. So the chakras are considered to be energy centers in your body. Your chakras can get stuck. I do believe that we are energy. Everything is energy, but you know, with the chakras, I'd be real careful around that one. So, you know, take a look at that and see. You know, do some more research on chakras.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So then we also have the lotus flower, and the person that we're referencing this information from again is a former witch, and she put on here lotus flower things like tapestries. So Sheri and I were talking about this before we started recording, and I know that the lotus flower is associated with Buddhism and Hinduism. So there's something to do with that. The same with chakras, like so I'm not really sure what the lotus flower is in particular in terms of praying to other gods, but I'm assuming that it has to do with practicing another religion such as
mhm.
Buddhism or Hinduism, which, obviously there's millions of gods associated with those two religions. So we know there's one true God, and if those things are in your home and being used for those purposes, then you definitely want to make sure that that's not what you're intending for that. Um,
Yeah.
Zodiac anything. So I cringe now when somebody goes, "Oh, you're a Sagittarius?" Because I've never been one of those people that really bought into horoscopes very much. But I used to read them as a kid and thought they were really funny. But I have an aunt, and my husband has a grandmother who are both big into astrology. Like they wanted to do our charts and all this other stuff, and the sun and the moon and the whole thing. And I think that's actually the next thing on this list is astrology anything. Those practices are completely anti-biblical. They're considered witchcraft. It's actually in the Bible. It doesn't necessarily say astrology, but it is worshiping the moon. It is worshiping the stars. It is worshiping the sun. It is believing that those things have the power to tell us or tell someone what your future, what your past, what your life is supposed to look like. And like Sheri said at the beginning, only God can predict, only God can tell us that. And so the problem with those things is they've become a practice in worship. People depend on that information to believe what their life is supposed to look like. They make decisions around
Mhm.
their life based on that futuristic clairvoyance that they're getting from that. And there's no dependence on God when you're depending on fortune telling to be your
Mhm.
future.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, when you, because I did through my mother here, because one of her friends was kind of a fortune teller. Um, and she said something about my relationship, with uh, my ex-husband, basically. And she made predictions. And so here's what I would say about that. In your mind, you create that prediction.
Yeah.
So you're told something, you may make it true. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could, and then it's like, oh wow, that fortune teller really knows what she's talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, okay, so here we go. Anything about worshiping the universe. So, the universe is giving this to me.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. It's like, I'm thanking the universe for this, or, whatever they're saying. And I also hear Mother Nature is
Yes.
another one that I'll hear.
Yeah.
No, it's God. If you're a Christian, it is God.
Yeah.
So it's not the universe. It's
And if you
it's
want
not
to
the sun.
counter someone who says that, ask them where did the universe come from? Like, because
That's
people
good point.
still want to buy into the Big Bang Theory, right? Like my daughter, she tries to say the Big Bang Theory. Okay, but what happened? What created the Big Bang Theory? You can't there's no scientific explanation for any of it. It's all too perfect. It's all too it's not coincidental. And so people who want to believe that science and nature are what bring us the good fortune, the good weather, the good anything, there's always that question: what created that? What created that? And eventually they get to the point where they're like, well, I don't know. Well, hello. The only thing that could have created that is a very powerful being, much more powerful than we are, and that's God. So
Hmm.
there's definitely an argument when people say that they find their peace or their foundation or whatever in nature. And I know a woman who's a white witch, and she worships nature, and they go out and do these ceremonies and on full moons and things like that. And she doesn't understand the ramifications of that. But yeah, the whole universe being the higher power is a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, this lady
Lot.
actually claimed to have been a white witch. So
Yeah.
I had never heard the term white witch before, but supposedly they're good witches.
Yeah.
So if there is a good witch, and I think if you follow her, and her name is Ashley Jones, and we will tag her videos in the notes below so that you can actually see, and if you want to follow her, I this is up from TikTok, but she's probably on Instagram also, no matter wherever you go to find information. The other thing that I was going to say about what you were just saying is that there are scientists that have been like gung ho, I am going to prove that
Mhm.
there is no God. And you know what they end up proving? That
There's
there is a God.
yeah.
And they become converted in the
Einstein.
meantime. And
Yeah.
there's been more than one
Mhm.
that has happened to. So just saying. Um, let's see. Anything about manifestation. So that's really interesting because a lot of people will say, I'm manifesting
Yeah.
that I'm going to have a new car,
Yeah.
or I'm manifesting that with the universe. So they'll put it all together. I think the Bible does talk about manifestation or manifesting.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you know what verses that is,
Find
but
it
maybe we
and
can
reference it.
throw that in. Yeah, and we'll
Yep.
reference that. Um, and then let's see, the next one is law of attraction.
So there is a book, they actually did a little documentary about it. What is the name
Hmm.
of that book? The Secret. The
The
Secret.
secret, yes.
And it is all about the law of attraction and manifesting, your own.
Getting anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah, if you believe it hard enough, and there's a lot of churches out there that actually believe this. Like, there's one in my old hometown, that the way that they teach is if you have enough faith, and to me this is, you know, what's it called? I can never remember the name of it. The
Mm,
prosperity
I know
gospel.
it. I know it's
Um,
the prosperity
yeah,
gospel. Yep.
prosperity gospel. Um, so, but that is the law of attraction or manifestation, because they say if you have enough faith and you believe there's $5 in your pocket, $5 will show up. And, you know, yes, I guess that there is some truth to that, but that's not how God works. And it's very plainly
Mm-mm.
stated in the Bible what he means when he says, if you have enough faith, the mountain will move. If you have the faith of
Yeah.
a mustard seed, you can move this mountain. It's not, if you have enough faith in me, I'll make you wealthy. So,
Mm.
the law of attraction is a very dangerous concept that's even being put into new age
Mhm.
churches, and it's something you certainly need to be aware of.
Yeah, and there are a lot of preachers that are preaching prosperity gospel, and I mean, we know one big one, and
We
that's
do.
Joel Osteen. He's written a lot of books on it, and I have listened to him, and I've heard what he's had to say, and he manifests parking spots, and he I mean he talks all about it, So, but if you are listening to him, then you might want to let him go.
Yeah. He's definitely what I would consider to be a false teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're up.
Okay, so we have angel numbers. Now, I am not familiar with what an angel number means, although I do know that numerology is something that a lot of Christians want to study, and I think it's a really dangerous form of astrology or witchcraft or whatever you want to look at it
Mm-hmm.
as. Symbolism is something that can be really beneficial if you know things from the conspiracy perspective, which, Sheri helped me build my tinfoil hat. But numerology and angels are something that, I don't think that's godly at all, and I'm not sure how they use it. So I'd have to do my own research. I suggest that you go do your research and get to understanding what numerology actually is. However, oh, there it is. Okay. And then channeling books, etc. So channeling books would be kind of the same thing that we were talking about earlier with the law of attraction and manifestation. So channeling being able to channel someone else's energy. And I actually accidentally said that the other day because you say I'm channeling something, and that I grew up hearing that, so it popped out of my mouth the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that." So channeling is, you're a lot of times it means that you're channeling someone who is, giving you energy, but I also have heard it being used, to channel someone who's dead. You're
That's what I've heard it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so, and of course, we don't commune with the dead. We commune with the demonic, and we commune with us in our human form, but we don't commune with the dead. Um, Energy healing or transferring. So this would be, like the salons or the spas that you would go to where, and I think Reiki actually comes up, but it's like the Reiki or, um, the crystals, there's a lot of that used in energy healing, certain forms of yoga. Um, what else am I trying to think of? There's one other thing that came to mind with the energy healing that I can't think of now. But it all kind of ties into all of these tie together in some form or fashion. I don't know about the transferring. Are you familiar with energy transferring?
Um, no, I can't say that I am. So that might be something that, we all want to look up and see what that is and make sure that we're not, doing that or, you know, inadvertently. So
Mhm, mhm,
again, these are things that we don't know, but it doesn't mean that we may not be doing it by pure accident because it's been introduced into our lives by
yeah,
whoever, whatever.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the next one is gods or goddesses. And that brings us back to that book.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of different gods and goddesses and that are referenced, especially in Greek mythology.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, so they're not to be worshipped. We know that. So, think about that. You know, we don't want to go there. We
Nope.
only have one God,
Yep.
and that's with a capital G, and this is with lower G's.
Yes.
So the next one is Harry Potter. Ooh,
Controversy.
um, very controversial. Yeah. So I grew up. My children read Harry Potter, and I remember during that time I was not a strong Christian. I was beginning Christian, and trying to teach my kids right and wrong. And their grandmother, not my mother, but their dad's mom, was librarian at an elementary school and was very much into reading, as was their dad. And my kids actually grew up being readers, which is great. You want them to read, right? And I, my daughter who had ADHD, I don't even know how many times she read some of the Harry Potters, but they were like 7 and 8 times or more. And those books are like this, if you don't know. I've never read them. I don't think I've even seen the movies. So um, you don't want that in your house. That is sorcery. There are wands. There are all kinds of things associated around that. They fly on brooms. Hello. We're talking witchcraft here. So,
This one's
just
hard
keep
for
that in
me.
mind.
I read all the books multiple times with my daughter, and I've seen the movies 100 times, and so when I heard this and my pastor taught it in one of the church sermons about paying attention to books like this that seem really innocent, and it's just been and now
It's
my
a
Harry Potter
story.
books are in storage, and I actually got my Harry Potter book set in London at Platform 9 and 3/4 little gift shop, and so, yeah, that one's really hard for me, and I know, like, I don't have the movies anymore, but I know I'm gonna have to get rid of the books, and, I always just believed that it was just this really, really fun, innocent series, but it's so true. It is folding into the Hollywood demonic plan, scheme, and it is a scheme, and if you're not familiar with that, we'll do a full episode on the corruption of Hollywood and the demonic influence, but it is real. And movies
Yeah.
like that and books like that, which Harry Potter, I'm surprised there aren't a lot more books listed on here, but because that one's so popular, I'm sure that's why she mentions it, but Harry Potter and the Twilight series, like
Oh
all
gosh.
of those are
Yeah.
completely encased in demonic influence. So,
Yeah. Anything vampires? I
mhm,
mean, I don't know if it's on the list later, but
I don't think so.
anything with the vampires or werewolves or any of those things are
Yeah.
going to be toward the demonic. And I know that I was a baby Christian, and I heard different parents saying, yeah, I don't know that I would let my kid read that book. It wasn't directly to me, but it was just in the air. Some people were saying that. And I'm like, it's just a book.
Right. Right.
It's just a book. It's just, like you said, just a story. But what is that story telling? what is getting into that child's mind, or
Mhm.
yeah,
What it's not telling is anything godly. It literally pulls
no.
kids away from anything that would be faith-based and brings them into
Mhm.
this fantasy land of magic being something that can get you everything you want.
Oh,
But there's no such thing. If
no.
somebody is using magic to get everything they want, they are connected to a demon. And there's another interview with a different
Yeah.
witch who came to faith that I will put a link to down here as well. Her interview is almost an hour long with Michael Knowles with the Daily Wire, but the interview's on YouTube, and she really dives into the
Mhm.
pull from becoming when you become a witch or you find the fascination in that you're not communing with nice people and spirits like they want you to believe you are only getting messages and influence and power through demons. That's how it works. So the Harry Potter thing makes it look like it's this inherent gift, but yeah,
Mhm.
it's dangerous.
Yeah,
It's really dangerous.
yeah. I mean, I was just happy that my kids were reading.
I know. I know, me too.
So it's kind of, yeah, that's not an easy one. And then um I think we touched on it a little bit, but the horoscopes, I think again that's like foretelling. It's
Yeah,
kind of fortune telling.
yeah,
You may make it so now you're like, yeah, well, I need to read that again because it's me. It happened.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They can get anything right once, right? I mean, how many times have you read your horoscope and it was wrong? Because it's
Hmm.
made up.
Yeah.
There's no truth
Yeah.
behind it.
Yeah. We're all unique. So how can they base it on your birthday?
Yeah,
And it's kind of, it's interesting.
yeah.
And mine's Cancer. I mean, why would I want to follow something that's Cancer? I mean, honestly,
how did that even become a sign?
right? Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we have meditation outside of biblical context. So what I want you to think about when you think about meditation outside of biblical context is sitting with your knees crossed and your fingers like this, and you're saying things like chants, ohms, things like that. Those are false religious practices. That's Buddhism. And Buddhism, every time you do a chant or something like that, you are chanting, or you're basically praying to a god, a little g god, who knows which one. Um, but those types of meditative practices are definitely anti-biblical. And so meditating from a biblical context, there are some books out there. In fact, I think our other friend Bree sent us a book on how to pray. And in that book, how to pray for business strategy. And I think in that book it talks a little bit about meditating on scripture. So that's basically what you want to do is read scripture and then just sit with it for a little while and see what God says to you. But the meditation practices where you're really focused on emptying your mind. And I'm telling you, I had so many books by a lady named Pema Chodron. There are a lot of Buddhist practitioners out there that write these books, and they're great books. I mean, they're really all about calming the mind and having peace and, getting rid of calamity and things like that. And but it's not through Christ, right? So you never really feel. Did I just get a bubble right there?
Yeah. I don't know if that'll come out tonight.
So
We don't know how
sorry.
to make that happen, but it does every
It
once in a
does,
while.
it's so crazy, so, anyway, so the peace and the only way I have ever found true peace, because I've tried it all, I've done it all, I'm, being in recovery for alcoholism, AA teaches you so many different meditative practices, and the only way that I've ever found true internal peace is through Christ and through my surrender to God, so those meditation practices can be, again, you're praying to a God that's not God.
Yeah. Yeah. And think of Sanskrit also. That's another,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's part of meditation or the chants, or um, because I ran across that and I was like, I don't know what that is,
yeah,
but that's the chanting.
yeah. Okay, sage, burning sage for non-cooking purposes. I've done this because I thought it was cool. I didn't know. I mean, I kind of knew it had witchcraft and intentions behind it, but I never thought too much about it. And I certainly haven't done it since I've been Christian. But burning sage is a witchcraft practice. The idea behind it, if you've never done it, is that you're cleaning your house of evil spirits and negative energy. So there we're talking about energies again, which we shouldn't be playing around with, but it's a practice in witchcraft. I mean, that's just plain and simple. There's really
Yeah.
no other explanation for it. You're just
Mhm.
practicing witchcraft. I'd have no idea what
Mhm.
Palo Santo is. I've never heard of it.
I have heard of it. I'm trying to think. I want to say it's a type of wood, maybe. Um, I can't remember, but I have heard of it because I hadn't heard of it before, and somebody was telling me, "Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's the greatest thing." And I think you burn it also,
Oh, okay.
and maybe it has a good scent. I don't know, but just know that that's not what you want to do. Look into it and know
Yeah.
that you don't want to do that. Um, Reiki healing. So that is interesting, and um, I had a Christian friend who did Christian Reiki. And so, and she sent me an article. And I did do the first Reiki, and because I'm like, well, I want to see what this is. And so, um, she described it as, well, it's good because it's just like laying on hands. And again, it's an energy thing. So you know, she was channeling God because she would always pray to Jesus. She would, I mean, her prayers were in alignment with Christianity, and then it was the lane, but this was online, so it wasn't even, in person. But I guess she does it in person also. So I don't know that I would go there. That is, again, it's a energy healing. I do believe that there is some good, energy, because we are all energy.
Mhm.
We are. We're different frequencies. They've messed with our frequencies. So, and because of that, they've also messed with our health because of the frequency. So there are good frequencies for healing. All right. And then the next one is psychic or mediumship, which we've kind of touched on anyway. Is, you don't want to go seeking a psychic or a medium to tell you what's going to happen. Um, you just don't, because like I said, you will probably make it so. And so, they're amazing. They know what they're talking about. They're worth every penny, and they will take all your pennies. So I've heard of that too. So yeah, don't go there. Seek God.
Yeah.
Yeah, the next one.
Nope. I finished with Palo Santo.
Oh, okay. Sacred geometry. Not totally sure what sacred geometry is.
Me either.
Yeah. So we probably all need to look that one up so we know
Yeah.
whether we're, but
Yeah.
I think we'll just stay away from that. Besides, it's geometry and not my favorite math. I am going to do the bubble for me. Anyway, I put my hand up, it'll put a hand up. Anyway, yeah, geometry.
Yeah.
I'm a math person, but not geometry.
Me either. I think I failed it in school.
Yeah.
All right, spirit guides. So this is going back to
Mm.
back to mediums, back to psychics. So a lot of times witches or people who are practicing psychic clairvoyancy or whatever believe that they have a spirit guide. And I saw an interview that was done with a former medium who became a Christian, and she basically said it was not a spirit guide. It was a spirit guide, but it was a demonic spirit guide. So again, you're just tapping into
Mhm.
demonic energy and demonic influence when you're doing these types of things. And that's typically what your spirit is. And they will present themselves as somebody who's helpful until you decide you don't want to be in that environment anymore. And then they come after you. And so this woman that I watched the interview of, when she became Christian, her spirit guide attacked her big time. There's a bee.
Wow.
Um, Attacked her a lot. Oh, did you see that? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Aw, go away. Okay. Anyway,
Talking
so
about attacking, and look at that.
I know, a bee coming after me.
Spirit bee is getting her.
The
Spirit
joys of
bee.
California living, sitting in the sun. Um, so anyway, yeah, so you definitely don't want to call on a spirit guide because the spirit guide is always going to be a demonic influence. Unicorns, fairies, mystical creatures, they're cute, they're fun, they're whatever, but they are still associated with magic. So, I mean, that's in and of itself, just the symbolism is what
Mhm.
those are. And if you got them, they carry their own symbolism. Because I used to love fairies. I thought that mystical fairies were so cute. I actually almost had one tattooed on me. I'm glad I didn't, but I thought that they were so cute. And so
Mhm.
I recently got rid of a book that I'd had for years I never read that had a really cute fairies book cover on it. So when we sold our house and started purging, I got rid of all those old books, the Pema Chodron stuff, like all of the things that did not align with my faith. I got rid of.
Mhm.
I didn't realize how much of that stuff I had in my house. Vision boards. So my interpretation of a vision board is building a business plan, but I do know that vision boards are a manifestation propaganda. So you
Mhm.
create a vision board, you meditate on a vision board, and it manifests itself for you because you're working so hard to make it happen. So you're tapping into, demonic energy by doing that because if you meditate and pray on it to the wrong god, which I have an interview I just watched yesterday that my mother-in-law had me watch. I'll touch on real quick. Um, if you pray to the wrong god, trying to make those vision board items manifest, again, the
Mhm.
word manifestation is not godly. So if you're manifesting this through prayer, you're not praying to God, you're praying to Satan. And I wanted to touch on this interview I saw yesterday about a pastor who died and went to heaven, and he pled his way. He wanted to plead with God to stay on earth because he didn't want to come back. He didn't want to die yet. And he was older. But anyway, so when he was making his plea to stay here or to come back here, he started going through all the good works he had done as a pastor, all the things he had done in faith to the pastor, or to God.
Mhm.
And God came down on him with wrath and a roaring voice and said, "You are not of God. You are a sinner. You are not worthy. Your God has been Satan the whole time you've been down there. You speak to me of these good works that you've done, but who were you really doing them for?" And he said through all of that, he realized that he had been doing all of his good works for self because he wanted the accolades for everything that he'd been doing. And the point of that being, we think we are praying to God when we are praying for selfish things, or we think we are praying to God when we are praying for um, the manifestation of something because we are told that if you want it bad enough, if you pray hard enough, God will give it to you. But it's really got to be with a pure heart, and none of us are capable of that, right? We're all selfish, self-centered beings who live in flesh. But I just, whether that actually happened, and I haven't watched the entire interview yet, but whether that actually happened or whether he's just got a really good message, um, it really kind of made me think about when I'm praying. Am I praying with an open heart, with a pure heart, or am I
Mhm.
praying because I want something that I want? And it's almost always because I want something that I want, meaning that none of us are worthy. But things like this vision board would be something that would definitely open up a demonic portal because we're not praying to God at all if we're praying for manifestation. And that's what I was saying is this guy was saying that God was telling him that he's been worshiping Satan the whole time because everything was selfish. Vision boards are selfish. They're about
Mhm.
when I want it because I'm setting a timeline to make it happen. Goals are great, but vision boards are dangerous.
Interesting. Yeah. I could see possibly creating a vision board for the world? What do we want to see in the world? Or, I wonder if we couldn't turn it into something good. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just a thought that I had.
It's a good thought.
Um,
I mean, I'm sure some of these things can be
yeah,
shifted, but the purpose behind them, that what we know them to be societally is not good.
yeah, no, yes, I agree with you on that. And I was going to say one other thing that I had learned along the way too is that people who worship Satan intentionally, okay, they also call him God.
Yes.
Okay, they also call him Lord. So we also need to be careful how we pray, because we want to make sure that we are praying to God in heaven.
Yes.
So
Yes.
think
That's
about
a
that,
good
and think
point.
about some of the names that God has. I know I'll lean back into Yahweh or Heavenly Father, because Satan is not that.
Yes.
So think about how you pray as well, I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. All right, you're up.
I'm up. My screen keeps closing. All right. Talked about it a little bit. Yoga. Yoga is another one like Reiki. There's Christian yoga. And I don't know, some of the poses and whatnot. I don't know if I would go. I don't know. I don't think I would go there
Nope.
anyway. They are tapping into things that you don't want to tap into, especially if you're like doing the hot yoga or you're doing, be careful. You can do stretching without doing yoga.
Yeah.
They have some good poses, I'm sure, that will stretch different parts of your body, but you can do that without being in a yoga class. Or I know we do stretch. I do stretching in my class. I teach different
Yeah.
stretches,
Yeah.
but we're not.
The practice
Yeah,
of yoga is praying to all those different gods, and all those different poses are prayer or different prayers. Whether you know it or not, you're still doing it. So
yeah, yeah. It's just. I think a lot of these things are just insidious. You just don't
yeah.
realize that you're doing what you're doing, and repent.
Yes.
And
Just,
please,
yes.
do repent and say, and God knows you didn't mean to do that. I didn't know, and repent and ask for forgiveness and move on and do better. So, Enneagrams. So that's an interesting one. Yeah. Well, Enneagrams seem to be used a lot in business practices. I'm going to find out what I am, so I know how I'll be. Well, God made us all unique. So, do you fit in a box? I don't fit in a box. Do you fit in a box?
No, no.
I don't think so. So I'm not sure that, you can be a 7 with a wing 2 or what, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
you may, you may resonate with some of that stuff, but you're unique. You don't need and yeah.
So I was I've done a mild amount of research, but not a ton, because I saw a video on Instagram or something about the Enneagram, or it may have been on YouTube, but apparently the Enneagram has been around since like the 1600s, but when it actually became the Enneagram, the man who created what we know today to be the Enneagram is a satanic temple guy. He's a Satan worshiper. So put that in your hat.
Yeah.
Think on it for a little while if you're an Enneagram lover. These personality
Yeah.
tests are intentional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They want to put you in a box, and you don't belong in a box.
Right.
You're God's child.
Right.
So, but I had heard that too, and he openly speaks about that.
Yes. He was not quiet about it.
Yeah. No. Well, this is a good one for me to take. Native American symbols, pottery, and jewelry that serve as spirit guides, such as Kokopelli, etc. So, and they spelled Kokopelli wrong, but regardless, it when you see it, because we'll put this video up, it does start with a K. So Kokopelli. Um, there's they're kind of weird looking. I should have thought of it. I would have shown one because I do unfortunately have some of these things because my mother, like I said, loved American Native art, and that's it's going to be a hard thing to get rid of, and I know it's things that I need to get rid of because it is opening, different portals, and you know, so yeah. So anything, yeah, my understanding is anything Native American, unfortunately, we need to let go of.
Never been drawn to
So.
Native American art, so I'm free and clear there, but I've I've heard the same thing.
Yeah,
All right. Clothes, jewelry, etc. from ex-spouses or friends. So I would
that's
assume,
interesting.
yeah, I would assume this means, you just don't want so lust is something that is definitely a sin. I don't understand necessarily how the ex-friends or anything like that, unless she's speaking specifically because she is a former witch, that these are people who
Mm,
are associated with the occult. That's the only thing I could think of that, because those things can be cursed. Um, I would not hold on to anything from an
sure.
ex-spouse or an ex-boyfriend, but I don't get the ex-friend part. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that one again, unless they're in the occult and would curse something of yours. Um,
The only thing I could think about that is maybe the energy around that, the negativity around that, because there's I don't know.
Even
Because
still,
when
if
you
you're
see
a
that
if you're a
thing,
Christian and you've got forgiveness in your heart, there shouldn't be any energy around something at all.
yeah,
So,
it just maybe it could also be how it makes you feel, if
yeah.
you're holding on to that for,
Oh,
yeah,
well, if that's the case,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. I don't
Definitely
know. I don't know what she's thinking there either.
yeah.
So,
Good luck charms. So obviously we don't want
mm,
to think of luck as being something that we live on. So if you have something that you qualify as a good luck charm, like a lucky rabbit's foot or a specific piece of jewelry or your crystals or whatever, those you don't want to have because we don't, as devout Christians, we don't believe in luck and we don't believe in coincidence. We believe that all things are through God and we make choices that might make something not go well, but that's not considered luck, that's considered free will. So, um,
mm.
I would not have something that I call a good luck charm. Demonic games, Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not really familiar with what demonic games would be. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. Of course, I know what they are, but I don't know outside of a game like that what would be considered a demonic game. Do you?
um, yeah. What about the 8 ball? What about Ouija board? I
Oh,
mean,
okay, never mind.
those could be
Yeah, I
considered
guess they are considered
demonic
games.
games.
Yeah,
But
okay,
yeah, I mean,
okay.
even I can see the Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah,
because you're role playing.
yeah,
You're role playing is something that you're not. And
yeah,
again, that also makes me think about Halloween and dressing up as something that we're not.
yeah,
Even if it's like, well, I just dressed up as an angel. That can't be that bad. It's yeah, you're role playing and you're being something that you're not. So I think that I was trying to think if there was any other. Can you think of any other? I know the Ouija board and the 8 ball, not good, not good
yeah,
at all.
yeah, those 2 are definitely not good.
Mm-mm, no.
And then the final one on here is paranormal movies and shows, etcetera. So I definitely agree with that in terms of, things that are, uh, going back to the Harry Potter stuff and the vampire stuff. There's a lot of television shows that are occult related now and movies that are occult
Yeah,
related now. The only thing that I will counter on this, and I counter it because I just watched a movie when we were on the plane coming down to California last week, called The Pope's Exorcist, and it was based on fact. It was a true story, and of course, because it was made in Hollywood, it was cinematic and it had things in it that wouldn't have happened in real life, I'm sure, just like, the scary faces and things like that. But the story was a real story. It was a factual story behind what had happened to this exorcist. So I think for certain purposes, it's really important to understand, and those movies can kind of give you the ones that are based on fact anyway, they can give you a real idea of what demonic possession can look like. But yeah, I definitely think that movies that are just ingrained in the occult and have no real history, no factual history behind them are the scary movies are just meant to open your mind to something that's evil and that's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. All the horror movies, Jason, Halloween, The Exorcist. I mean, those are entertainment, so to speak. There's air quotes around that. Yeah, you just don't want to fill your mind with those kind of
Yeah.
things. And I think that also, even movies that portray relationships that are not good relationships, having affairs, because those things now you're putting those in your mind, and it's like, well, everybody's doing it, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of, those are shaping your thought processes too, which can be demonic.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of them out there that it's just a story. They just meet once a year to
Right.
have an encounter or whatever. But it's putting things in your mind that are just not. They're kind of fantasy. They're kind of making you believe that things that are not truly fulfilling, I guess I would say.
Yes.
So be careful what you watch, because it does go in your mind. Be careful what your family watches. Be careful what you bring into your house.
Yep. Agreed.
Yes. And so I was thinking about getting oil and blessing your house.
Yeah. Anoint your doorstep. Anoint your awning at your door.
Yeah. But I mean, I've even heard so far as putting an anointing on your screens, on your TV, on your computers, because those are all gateways for things to come in, on your windows. So, putting a little cross on those areas.
There you go.
Think about that.
Yeah. All right. Well,
things to think about.
Yeah, definitely things to think about. This ended up being a lot longer than we thought it was going to be, but we hope that you got some valuable information out of it. If you had any of those things on your heart to buy for anyone, please second guess it and try and come up with something a little less potentially harmful to give someone that you love. And if you have any other items that you want to add, please drop those in the comment section below. We will put this list in our description for the video, as well as the links that we told you that we would give you. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let us know in the comment section below. Anything else you'd like to add?
I was just going to say, is not just gifts, but these are things that Leigh Ann and I know there's some things that we still need to purge from our homes, because they're bringing in some bad things that we don't want in our house.
Yeah.
So it is a process of purging.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Think
definitely.
about that too.
Definitely. All right. Well, we will see you next week, and we hope that you have a wonderful week in preparation for the holiday that it should be, which is the celebration of Christ's birth. And if that's not how you celebrate, we encourage you to get in the Bible and learn about it. And in the meantime, we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.